So understand that this is by far the most fulfilling. I think it'll take you the furthest because you're going to be forced to master all these, like Alan said, but it's also, you're going to be misunderstood. And it's going to be a completely different journey for you than a lot of people.
What motivates us determines our destiny. And when Kevin was super motivated by money, he was willing to trade in all the other ones without knowing these. That was before he knew these. Just be careful. If you want to be well-rounded, you're going to have to tap in to all the different parts of your nature that motivate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, Next Level University Weekly Meetup Monday for week number 64, the 5 M's of Next Level Motivation. So something you will hear people say often is, I just don't have the motivation. I can't find the motivation. I've lost the motivation. But for a lot of people, they don't necessarily even know what motivates them. So everybody is motivated differently. And today we are going to go through the top 5 groupings of motivation, help you figure out what motivates you, the upsides of that, the downsides of that, and how to figure out how to get that going to begin with.
So at Next Level U, you know we're all about self-awareness. This is going to be a big self-awareness one where you're trying to figure out, again, like Kevin mentioned, what motivates you specifically. And so we actually want you to rate yourself from 0 to 10 on each of these categories. Again, there's 5 M's of Next Level Motivation. And if you are not driving and you have a pen and paper or pencil and paper, please follow along and make sure you rate yourself because self-awareness is everything.
Boom. Are you ready to start?
Let's rock.
So we're going to go one by one. We'll talk a little bit about each, and then we'll give you a little recap at the end. So number 1, movement/freedom. The first M, movement. So what does this mean, Alan?
All right. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, you are motivated by not ever being told what to do. Okay. You are motivated. A lot of business owners are motivated by this. A lot of people go into business to start their own business, not necessarily because they're going to make more money right out of the gate, but because they don't want a boss. They want to be their own boss. So someone who's motivated by movement/freedom wants to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, as much as they can, with whoever they want. These are the people that don't want to be tied to any one thing. They want to be able to live a life, again, of freedom, movement/freedom. They want to be able to, we talk in this industry a lot about having an evergreen lifestyle. In other words, you can run your business from anywhere in the world. Kevin and I have tried to design a life where we don't necessarily have to be geographically located in one place. We're actually going to be booking a trip to Colorado, and we're going to be working from Colorado during that week later in July. But that's an evergreen movement/freedom type of lifestyle. One of the reasons why Kevin and I left our old jobs was because we wanted more movement/freedom. We wanted to live a life where we can grow our business online and virtually.
So like Alan mentioned, this is a lot of people who are either business owners or entrepreneurs who have had that moment of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to wake up and go to a job I dislike, to a boss that doesn't really appreciate me. So when it was the Hyperconscious podcast back in the day, for episode number 7, it was called Chase Your Effing Dreams, which was honestly a great title.
Oh, yeah.
In retrospect, I think it was a high hitter.
Was it bleeped out with the effing?
I believe it was, because I don't think they would allow me to have the swear word. But in that episode, I basically talked about this. I said, my goal, my vision, what I'm shooting for is to be able to wake up when I want, to have a studio, to go to the gym when I want, to be able to podcast with amazing people whenever I want, and to be able to hang out with the people that I love. That was always what I was playing for, the movement and freedom. I never liked going to a job I didn't enjoy, particularly for bosses who didn't care about what I cared about. Now, if you are motivated by movement and slash freedom, it's very important and slash, you don't need one or the other. You have to understand that you have to stay focused on this. So what does that mean? Don't start. We once interviewed somebody named Sarah Dodd. Remember Sarah Dodd?
I do.
Her name on Instagram is One Nomadic Dreamer, and she literally travels around the world. Now, that is part of her mission, and that is part of everything else for her, but you can lose sight of other things if you're only focused on the movement/freedom. We have to stay focused on actually getting stuff done. You can be motivated by it, but you can't lose yourself in it.
We're going to power right through this. Okay, so if you're out there right now, please write from 0 to 10 how motivated you believe you are on movement/freedom.
Can I add a point real quick?
Yeah, of course.
It's easier now than ever to actually make a life out of that because of technology.
For sure. Social media, again, there's a global marketplace. But basically from 0 to 10, if you're not driving, just write that down because we want you to leave here knowing what motivates you most. If that's your 10 out of 10, you got to know that and you got to double down on that. And maybe you're living a life that's not congruent with the way in which you're motivated. All right, number 2, mating/romance. What does this mean? You're motivated by love, by sex, by marriage, by family. Okay? If you're a little kid and you were always envisioning your wedding, this is most likely a mating/romance motivation. You are most likely wired for that. Kevin, as a kid, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but he was envisioning his favorite car, which was a Dodge Viper. Okay, so the next M is one that motivated him as a child. But a lot of people I know, they used to play wedding. They used to play dress up and they used to pretend with their friends when they were younger. And they used to envision their wedding. Okay, if that's you out there, that means you're most likely motivated by mating/romance. A lot of people who are relationship driven, it's not just mating/romance, it's also friends, colleagues, family. Relationships is one of your main motivators. If that's you, just understand that that's how you're wired.
And you have to be very, very careful because what you're doing is you're putting your motivation in the hands of somebody else. So we had somebody in our life who at one point, like now you got me laughing.
I know. We're giggling.
Was very focused on this. What happens when that person leaves? I can see Alan on the TV and he's smiling, which makes me smile.
For sure.
We are giggly. We've been laughing all day. And Alan also looks like an air pilot person. So what happens if this person that motivates you leaves? Alan?
I know. We're good.
Keep it together.
Yeah.
Then what happens to your motivation? You be Jeffin. So what you'll find is you go in ebbs and flows. If you have somebody in your life that you're interested in, you'll be very motivated. If they leave, you'll probably lose that. And then you'll search for somebody else to find the motivation again. Every single one of these has an upside as well as a downside. It's important to know both and then figure out where you are and if you're Jeffin or not.
From 0 to 10, how much are you motivated by mating/romance? Again, the first one, movement/freedom from 0 to 10. And then mating/romance from 0 to 10. Now, as we go through these, you're going to realize more and more where they fall. So, for example, if you had a 10 out of 10 for movement/freedom, you might want to go back and change that now that you realize mating/romance is actually your 10 out of 10.
Has mating and romance changed for you? That was one of the things I wrote down is, can it change? Because I think it's changed for me since partnering up with Aaron.
It definitely can. It can definitely. I think they integrate as well.
What do you think changed it? Is it the seriousness of the relationship? Is it the potential, the vision? Like what, you know what I mean? How are you motivated now by that in a different way than before?
Because it's integrated. It's much more integrated with the other ones. So to answer that question that Kevin just asked me, I'm going to give you the other ones in advance. Movement/freedom is number 1. Number 2 is mating/romance. Number 3 is money/materials. Number 4 is mastery/status. And number 5 is mission/meaning. The question Kevin just asked me. So mating/romance for me used to be one that was far lower on the priority list. And ever since I met Emilia, we are much more mission and meaning driven because she's a part of that mission. And so, yeah, it's become more important. But I think all of them have become more important because of the last one.
I think they will. And yeah, we'll get into that. But I do believe that it can go from not being a motivator to when you partner up with somebody. And maybe it's because of the mission or meaning, or maybe it's just because you're motivated to do good, like to provide a great life for that, that person or your family as well.
And it can also go the other way too. Like, let's say you had never had a really intimate relationship. When you do get one, you might find that other things need to motivate you now because you were so motivated by not having that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So number 3, money/materials. Again, from 0 to 10, how motivated are you by money/materials? So the example here is wanting nice things. For me, this is the least important one. This is my lowest. And again, I've tried to make it motivate me. I was in a really, really nice car last night, and I actually was like, you know what, honestly, this would be nice. But it typically wasn't the thing that motivated me most, but a lot of people are motivated by that. Another thing I want to mention, there's no right or wrong here. If you are motivated by money and materials, you're motivated by nice things. So Kevin gave an example earlier in the studio of designer brands. If you love designer brands, that might be a thing that you're motivated by. But the example for this is actually Kevin on his laptop background right over here. He has his dream home on there. He's got his dream car on there. He also has a big wad of cash on there as well. Again, if you've ever heard of a vision board, and this is actually one of the things we want to talk about later, once you understand these 5 M's of motivation, we want you to create a vision board that taps into all of them, especially based on the syntax of what's most important to you. Kevin's already been doing that, and he'll actually get into a little more of what's on the vision board as well.
I will, and I'll also go through. I'm going to wait because I want to wait to the end to kind of sum it up.
Okay.
As I mentioned in the other ones, there are downsides of this. Okay, what happens if you're willing to trade your core values or your beliefs for money? Alan and I both kind of did that, not in a bad way, but we were super, super motivated by money, more so than materials, but we were willing to work jobs that weren't aligned with us, right? We were willing to do things that we didn't want to do. Another thing, for a lot of people who value money and materials, they have a money block. So if you value this, you might value it because you never had it. Very similar to what Alan said about the mating and romance. And then what happens when you actually achieve a level of financial success and that's what motivated you? Will you still be hungry? Will you still be motivated? Will you be subconsciously jeffing yourself into not making money? That's another thing of a lot of people that we work with is they aren't necessarily good at asking for it. It motivates them, but they're not always good at asking for the money.
Right.
Yes.
So I think, Kevin, you've been traditionally more motivated by money. When did you really tap into that? And when did you know that was a thing?
My whole life, really. I think growing up, we didn't have a ton of money. I wasn't like dirt poor or anything, but I was always afraid that money was going to run out. And that always kind of shaped me. I really, really was motivated by it when I got that job. So for those of you who don't know, I had graduated the fire academy and I was like, I don't know if being a firefighter is for me because I told the story of how I didn't ask enough questions in the fire academy. And I realized I don't think I'm safe for this job. Like, I feel like I could really let some people down here. I was working construction and I ended up going to some job seminar where I went for weatherization. I didn't know what it meant. I knew it was light construction and they said they were going to hook me up with a job at the end. So I was like, this is cool. Let's do this. So I did the 2-week course, whatever it was. And at the end, the lady said, Kev, I really like you. You have a great personality. I have a great company for you. The only problem is there's travel involved. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And she's like, what if I told you you'll be making anywhere from $50 to $100 an hour? And I was like, I'm in. Like, I'll go to the moon, whatever. And I think for me, when I started seeing paychecks of $2,000 a week, everything else, it seemed, again, this is what I'm guilty of. It seemed like everything else went away in terms of my problems.
Right.
And I just remember having checks for thousands of dollars that I just didn't have to cash because I had money in the bank. But that was my problem. I put so much into the money and the materials that I kind of lost sight of myself. I actually lost movement and freedom because I had to travel. I was literally on the road for 10 months out of the year. So I subconsciously got rid of movement/freedom. I got rid of mating/romance because I didn't have time for partners. My mastery and status went away because I wasn't really getting good at anything. And I didn't have a mission or a meaning. My only mission or meaning was to make money. So you can really jeff yourself when it comes to this one. And I do believe that a lot of people do because they lose sight of themselves. When the money starts rolling and you forget why you started in the first place, it's hard to balance.
So another important point on this too is that we want to be well-rounded. And if you're out there listening and you're a fan of Next Level you also want to be well-rounded. That's why it's life, love, health, and wealth. When it comes to motivation, if you don't have all 5 of these, you're most likely not well-rounded. So everyone out there, think of someone who's extremely money-driven. Okay, I have a mentor who's extremely money-driven, always has been. Understandably, grew up, poor without money. Okay, that person is more focused on work than on family. Okay, now imagine someone who's extremely, extremely mating/romance driven. Okay, they're very, very focused on their relationship and on family, but maybe they're not doing so well in their career. See, what motivates us determines our destiny. And when Kevin was super motivated by money, he was willing to trade in all the other ones without knowing these. That was before he knew these. And so just be careful. If you want to be well-rounded, you're going to have to tap in to all the different parts of your nature that motivate you. And I'll tell one quick story too about me, because money/materials was not actually a big motivator for me. The next one was a big motivator for me, mastery and status. I went out to LA when I was 22 years old with a good friend of mine to be in show business. And I wanted to be basically behind the scenes of in the movies business. So I wanted to help basically do the business side of actors. Like I wanted to work with big actors like Dwayne Johnson or Will Smith and help them get better gigs and the business side of show business. Okay. So my family got into a little bit of financial trouble and I was still in debt from WPI. And when my family got into some financial challenges, I wanted to come back from LA. And that's why I was so motivated to make a ton of money. So when Kevin mentioned that I traded in a lot of movement/freedom, mating/romance, and all the other ones to go into corporate and go all in on money, I realized in hindsight that I actually, because I care so much about my family, that's what got me to be so motivated about money. And I realize that now. So understand that these are all connected, right? If mating/romance and family is your number one, and all of a sudden they get into financial trouble, I'll bet you all of a sudden the jets kick on regarding money and you're going to go make a bunch of money, which by the way, in the long run is going to give you skills. I rose in corporate, very quickly. And I know now that one of the reasons that is because my family was in trouble. And so I just think it's important to understand that as well.
I think if you're certainty driven, if you're emotionally driven and you find certainty is a very, very important need for you, that tends to lead to money because money for most people just feels like safety.
Right.
So I would add that also.
100%. Okay. Number 4. So again, we'll go through them quickly. Movement/freedom, number 1. Number 2, mating/romance. Number 3, money/materials. Number 4, mastery/status. These are the people that are motivated so much by getting better. Getting better is everything to you. That's the best way I can describe it. Like getting better at speaking, getting better at podcasting, getting better at consulting and coaching is absolutely everything to me. If I feel like I'm getting better at my craft, I feel fulfilled and I feel motivated. If I feel like I'm not, I'm actually motivated by not getting better. So wanting to be better is a huge motivator for me. And if you're out there and you basically resonate with that, you're probably mastery and status driven. A good example of this that I came up with was Beyonce. So I remember I was listening to an interview with Kobe Bryant and he was talking about Beyonce because I guess she was a friend of his. After every single performance, Beyonce is immediately watching the film, like studying the film of her performance. That's why she got so good. But a lot of people don't know that. They see her perform, but they don't see her alone later that night reviewing every single one, just like he reviewed every single game. So Beyonce is an incredible performer because she's so mastery and status motivated. She wants to be the best at what she does. And I think that's a really good thing as long as you harness it in the right direction.
What are the downsides of that? I feel like asking you that's probably better than me throwing stuff against the wall.
I appreciate the question. I would say that other people might think you're obsessive. I actually consider that a good thing if it's channeled in the right way. But a lot of other people won't relate to you, and that can really hurt your relationships. They might. One other downside, and be aware of this as well, is it appears selfish because mastery is a very personal thing. So, for example, when I review this meetup later tonight, which I do after every single one, I'm going to be alone in my car on my way to the gym, and I'll literally sit there in the gym parking lot listening to this, kind of ignoring the rest of the world because I'm focused on mastery. And I think that and then I'm going to be in the gym alone, again, focused on mastery. So I think the downside is you'll probably be very misunderstood. This is a rare one. We already talked about this. Mastery/status is one of the rarest, statistically speaking. And again, from 0 to 10, how much are you motivated by mastery/status? If you've ever heard the term the GOAT, and that's something that resonates with you, greatest of all time, if that fires you up and makes you want to be the GOAT or whatever that is, then you're most likely mastery driven.
Do you think that's the most important one? If you had to pick one,
I believe it's the second most important one, but only if you choose the right things. So if you intend to master making money, but you do it in a way that's incongruent with your core values, that's a bad thing. If you intend to master your career, but at the expense of your family, see, at Next Level You, we intend to master health, to master wealth, and to master love. Because when you master health, wealth, and love, you master life. I think that mastery is very important, and it's a really good thing as long as it's channeled to the right things.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest issues for our listeners that we've seen is not everybody has people in their corner trying to lift them to the next level, and even the people who are trying to help don't always know how.
That's why Kevin and I created Next Level Group Coaching. It's a 3-month program on teams of 10 with all people committed to achieving their goals. Click the link in the show notes for more information.
And we only take 10 people at a time, so make sure you get in quick. That's something. For a long time, I was always not anti-mastery, but it's not sexy.
Right.
And it takes a long time.
Takes a while.
And it doesn't drive.
It doesn't drive.
You can't drive mastery. You can drive
a Mercedes.
A Mercedes.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? So I've really come around to this because I've seen the behind the scenes of what mastery does. And then also linking up like, okay, we're blessed to have great mentors, but they've all worked on the behind the scenes mastery. Mm-hmm. The people who make it to the highest levels are usually, I don't want to say usually, oftentimes the people who have mastered at the highest levels. Obviously people go viral and get lucky, but that's not the game we're playing. Mm-hmm. Numero cinco.
Yep. Did you already do Lonely Land and all that with mastery?
Well, you kind of did.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you kind of did.
Okay.
I figured you talking about the downsides probably a little bit better.
Okay. Sounds good, brother.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, mission/meaning. Now, when Kevin asked me the question of is mastery the most important, I said no, because this one I believe is the most important. Mission/meaning. So you've heard the quote, nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it, right? When you fail a math test, do you say that's because I suck at math, or is it because you didn't study enough? See, that one meaning will change your entire trajectory of your life. So people who are motivated by mission and meaning are motivated by their own unique purpose. And this comes with a huge piece of self-awareness. So I told Kevin when I got in the studio today that I'm on chapter 32 of this book. I'm 32 years old. And I said, I reread the book. I reread chapters 1 all the way to 31, and I noticed some patterns. One of the patterns that I noticed is that even when I didn't know that I was doing this, maximizing my potential and helping others do the same has always been one common denominator. We gave a book club session on Saturday. We do it every single Saturday. And it was on the law of consistency on a book called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I went around the whole room and I asked a simple question. And it was this: what about you never changed? What was the one thing that was consistent through your entire life? And for me, it's the mastery thing. And when I tied it to a purpose, which was helping other people master their craft, helping other people believe in themselves, helping other people maximize their potential, that's when it really started to fulfill me. So after my car accident at 26, I went all in on mission and meaning. And I've read my purpose prayer on this podcast before, but my purpose prayer is basically mission and meaning driven. Again, the mission of Next Level You is to put self-improvement in your pocket from anywhere in the world, 7 days a week for free. That is a mission. And we never really get there. We're going to spend our whole life, invest our whole life trying to bring personal development to as many people on the globe as we possibly can. And that's a mission. That's meaningful mission to us. Because if we had self-improvement in our pocket when we were younger, everything could have been different. And while we don't regret our past, it is super important to us. My question for you is, what is your unique purpose? I know that sounds like a heavy question. Just ask yourself this. Whether you're 16 or you're 18 or you're 40, reread the book of your life. If you have a bad memory, this is going to be challenging, but try your best. Reread the book of your life from this higher sense of awareness and ask yourself, what about me never changed? What is the one thing that always felt fulfilling to me? What is the one thing that I've been doing every day of my life without even knowing I was doing it? Maybe you've always loved dogs, always. You've always been obsessed with dogs. Or maybe it's horses. I know one person who loves horses. Or maybe it's personal development. Or maybe it's playing football. Whatever that thing is that never went away, that thing that you always loved. I have some people that love video games so much. You can actually make a life out of that. You can make a career out of that. But you have to identify it first. You have to create the meaning. Meaning is not going to hit you in the face. You have to create it in advance.
And what Alan is talking about is fulfillment. Like, that is what fulfillment is. Chasing your mission, chasing your meaning. I think it's the most important because it forces you at times to not worry about these other ones in a weird way.
Especially when they're not coming.
Right. Well, it kind of, at the beginning, like when you're trying to master something for a mission, it doesn't happen right away.
No.
Like, that's a ever-long pursuit. The money is not there at all. So people are probably going to think you're crazy. Honestly, if this is the one that motivates you, it's silent and it's invisible and it only exists to you and you may never get it. So it's like, it's this weird thing where I know for Alan and I, it's like, oh, you guys are podcasters. Like, what do you do? It's like, well, we podcast and we coach and we're speakers. And, we have this many episodes and we traded in all this. And it's like, why? It doesn't really make any sense. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, Alan almost died in a car accident at 26. I wanted to kill myself at 26. So it's way deeper than like, we just started a podcast. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I do a very good job of explaining that. So when Taryn and I were looking at new places, I was like, yeah, I'm a podcaster. And they're like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you make money? And it was this whole thing of like, I'm not going to tell you my life story. You don't really care about that. Like this is an application. So understand that this is by far the most fulfilling. I think it'll take you the furthest because you're going to be forced to master all these, like Alan said, but it's also, you're going to be misunderstood. And it's going to be a completely different journey for you than a lot of people. This is where understanding the 5 buckets comes in and really, really making sure that you have growth people and mentors in your life, because you're going to need them, because it can be a very, very lonely road, but I do believe it is the most fulfilling road.
And if any of you out there listening, admire any of the work that Kevin and I do, if it wasn't for the mission and the meaning, we wouldn't be able to be who we are. It drives us every single day. It motivates us. Everyone out there, think of someone who's more motivated than they are. They're not inherently better than you. They might be more tapped into these than you are. Being motivated by a mission is so much more motivating than I want to lose 20 pounds. You know what I mean? They're not even close to the same thing. And so are you tapping into that? So I wanted to tell a quick story here about a time when I almost went off the rails. No, I'm kidding.
It's a fun time.
Yeah. So I got cast for a show called Love Island. And I never went on the show, but I went through a series of interviews and I brought that to Kevin and we actually sat down and watched. At the time, it was only in the UK. It was a super famous show in the UK. Yeah. This is back when I was a fitness model and a fitness coach and, a fitness competitor. And they hit me up and basically wanted to cast me on the show. And Kevin and I sat down and he's like, dude, I don't know if that's congruent with the man you're aspiring to be. And I didn't know that much about the show. He's like, let's sit down and let's watch it. It was, it was reality TV.
It was Love Island.
It was Love Island. Yeah, let's just leave it there. And let's say I was motivated by money. They promised me I'd have millions of Instagram followers, or hundreds of thousands, I should say. They promised me I'd have hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. They promised me a certain amount of money. They promised me I'd be on an island for months at a time, and all this stuff. Right? They also promised me it's a mating / romance. It's a dating. It's a dating series, and so they promised me mating / romance too. Blah blah blah. This was years ago, by the way, long before Emilia and I, which I want to make clear. I was single at the time. But let's say hypothetically I wasn't motivated by mission and meaning. I might have decided to do that because that would have been aligned with what motivates me. But because I have a unique mission, because I have a purpose prayer, because I want to bring self-improvement to the masses, I said no to that. I said no to that opportunity. And if I hadn't said no to that opportunity, who knows? Who knows what core values I might have traded in?
What do you think would have happened? I'd be watching you on TV like, no, don't do it. Don't do that. And then we'd be gone.
I was actually in the gym and it was, remember this was before the show was in America. I was in the gym and it was on. It was on in the gym. And I remember looking up and I watched a little bit of it and I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, thank God I didn't go on that show. What do I think would have happened? I would have regretted it. I would have regretted it because, yeah, all the Instagram followers and all the fame and fortune, blah, 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 all sounds nice, but not at the expense of my soul, not at the expense of my core values, not at the expense of the man I aspire to be. And who knows, would I not have met Emilia, the love of my life?
I bet you if you did, it wouldn't have been the same.
Right. Exactly. And so I'm super grateful that I stayed in alignment with my mission and my meaning. And that's why Kevin said it's the most important one, because it's the one that's going to fulfill you, regardless of the glam and the fame and the whatever. At the end of the night, we all sleep alone, no matter who's next to us. We sleep with our own conscience. We sleep with our own heart and our own soul. And I am so, so, so grateful. And luckily I had someone in my corner, because there's other people in my corner who wanted me to do this. They thought this would be a great idea. Almost everyone, actually, except for Kevin.
There was a little insecurity there of like, am I going to be on this show? Am I allowed to come in? So we have 5 here. Mm-hmm. Are there any I don't want to say minor motivators, but like for you, pain motivates you. What are there any other from your awareness?
I think all of them can fall into these buckets because I think pain motivates me because I want to master my craft.
Strange.
So for example, if you want to be the best at fitness that you can possibly be, of course you're going to have to do painful workouts. You can't really have one without the other. And I think the litmus test as to whether or not you're in alignment with your own highest self and your own motivations is fulfillment. And I'll say this over and over and over again. Kevin and I talk about this all the time on the podcast. Being successful is great, like genuinely, it's awesome. But being successful and fulfilled is so much more important because both of us were successful, quote unquote, but not fulfilled. And once you've experienced that, like really experienced it, like making over $100,000 a year, both of us at a very young age, statistically speaking, and still not being fulfilled, you kind of realize like it's not just the money. It's not, and I've also been in a relationship, right? It's like, it's not just one of these. If you go all in on one of these, I almost can guarantee you won't be fulfilled unless it's the fifth one. So Kevin's going to give you kind of a synopsis of all this. We've got 6 minutes on the clock, and he's going to go through his vision board, which is right to his right.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to show you, if you think Kevin's more motivated than you, it's because he's tapped more into these. So from 0 to 10, how much does movement/freedom motivate you now that you understand it? From 0 to 10, how much does mating/romance motivate you now that you understand it? From 0 to 10, how much does money and materials motivate you now that you understand it? From 0 to 10, how much does mastery/status motivate you now that you understand it? And last but not least, mission/meaning. From 0 to 10, how much does being on a mission and having deep meaning, a deep, meaningful life matter to you? I used to say this in my speeches all the time. I do not wish for you to have an easy life. I don't. I wish for you to have a challenging but deeply meaningful life because that's what's going to fulfill you of growth and contribution.
I would just share it, but I'm afraid it'll Jeff and go off the rails.
Yeah.
So on my vision board, I created this last year, and it's very much set up with this. So for movement and freedom, I have Taryn's family house in Vermont, which I want to buy from them. And I have a bunch of pictures of Taryn and I all over the place. That's love, mating, and romance. But like Alan said, I have cars. So I have my Mercedes. I have the Mercedes SUV that I want to buy Taryn. I have our dream house as well as a fat stack of
cash.
Skrilla, I believe.
Skrilla is what they're calling it these days.
The mission part, I have a couple of things. I think it might be Brendan Burchard standing in front of a crowd with his hands up, a large crowd. And then also this big stadium that's sold out because Alan and I plan on doing stadium tours around the world, speaking to hundreds of thousands of people at a given time. I also have 2 animals, a Rottweiler puppy named Rex and a pit bull puppy named Blue. I'm going to have to put the kitties on there. For those of you who don't know, Tara and I just got 2 cats. Shout out to Fudge and to Ace. I also have Next Level University, our artwork on there, as well as Next Level Podcast Solutions, which is can I say that I founded it? I founded that company?
For sure.
My goodness. So I look at this literally every single day because this is what motivates me. All of these things. Seeing Taryn, there's a reason that when you see Alan and I speak and I talk about Taryn, almost every single time I cry because that's something that motivates me so very much. There's a reason when Alan says, hey, what kind of car do you want? I say I want a Mercedes AMG GTR. Like I know exactly. I've literally already created it on the Mercedes website to see how much it would cost, to see what it would look like. Now, understand, for some people, and Alan mentioned this earlier, that doesn't make me a bad person for wanting that. That's just me leveraging my motivation. You better believe that most people, if they saw somebody that they were attracted to, they would perform better. Mm-hmm. Like if you're at the gym and there's a bunch of people there that you're attracted to, you perform better. It just is that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But our goal here is to have you understand at a deeper level and then figure out how to leverage them. I know that Alan and I, when I was struggling financially, that motivated Alan to make more money, to show me how to make more money. So we're all running with these. Just understand what is motivating you the most And then understand, what do you need to level up? Most people are not super motivated by mastery and status. And honestly, if you want the rest of these things, you kind of have to practice that first. Imagine this. You go all in on your thing and you learn the art of it, whatever that is. Then you can have the movement/freedom. Then maybe you'll find a partner who has those same aspirations, those values, and those beliefs. You'll have the money and the materials. And then if you attach that to a deeper meaning or mission, that is the life we want. That's a next level life. That is what we're aiming for. And we also want to help you get that as well.
Okay, the very last thing before we move to Q&A is the intrinsic versus the extrinsic. So the first three are actually, I think movement/freedom is actually intrinsic. It's kind of both. So the first one, movement/freedom, is both internal and external. In other words, an internal feeling of freedom, but also an external geographically. That's Perfect. A throwback to the hyperconscious days. And then mating/romance is, again, love intrinsically, but also extrinsic as well. Money/materials, mostly extrinsic, which is why it will never buy you fulfillment, by the way. That's why people say money doesn't buy happiness, because it doesn't. It doesn't buy fulfillment. Mastery/status, that's almost, so the mastery part is internal, knowing that you're good at what you do. Status is external. It's other people thinking you're good at what you do. Okay. And then you've got mission/meaning. Mission and meaning is extrinsic. In other words, so the Next Level Hope Foundation, for example, Kevin and I starting a charity every Father's Day to rent out a rec center and to have boys without fathers come and enjoy a day that's typically been very hopeless and not good. And to be able to build team building activities and potentially have a celebrity come in that's a good male role model, a character-driven male role model, boys without fathers from ages 7 to 13. See, that's a mission that you will all see externally, but it's from an internal place that we wish we had when we were boys without fathers. So just understand these are all internal and external, and you've got to, if you want to be the most motivated, put it this way, if you want to be the most next level version of you, you're going to have to be the most motivated version of you. And if you want to be the most motivated version of you, you're going to have to tap into each and every one of these. So your homework, if you're out there listening, is this. Write these down and identify which ones you're not tapping into. Create a vision board like Kevin just described. I've got one too. Okay, when you create your vision board, make it unique to you. The house that motivates Kevin is not going to be the house that motivates you. Emilia and I have a specific yacht that we intend to buy way later in life. That motivates us. That inspires us. Kevin and I, stadium tours.
Oh, yeah.
If we seem motivated, it's because of these M's of motivation. It's not because we're better or any of that. It's just we've tapped more into our unique motivations.
If you want to make a vision board, all you have to do is go on Canva on your laptop. You can even do it on your phone, honestly. I also have one of these on the background of my phone. I don't know where my phone is. It's gone. Oh, it's on airplane mode, so it doesn't matter. But you can literally go on Canva and you can make it and set it as your background for your phone or your laptop. You'll see it every single day and you'll prime your subconscious. Amy, what's going on?